Hello and welcome to another episode of Deprogrammed on Unsafe Space. I'm your host, Keri Smith, and I'm very excited about our guest today. This is another person that the community was really just telling us you have to get him on. He's the nicest guy. We are going to be talking with Drunk3PO, a.k.a. Jay.
What an intro. Who's been saying I'm nice? Like,
everybody says you're the nicest guy. I got messages about you saying, oh my gosh, he's so nice. He's such a great human.
What?
Yes.
Well, I've fooled a lot of people on the internet, man, just to show. No.
I also heard that you're a fan of nice hats.
Yes, and I have a fedora, but when I was in Vegas, it magically disappeared. So it was my favorite fedora. I mean, oh my goodness, and it's gone. It got lost in the Vegas.
Oh,
whatever.
That sucks. Well, one of the people who I watches your show and our show, Matt the Hat Guy, Matt Deckard, he used to work in hats. Maybe he could hook you up.
Yeah, he's reached out. Actually, the store where I bought that fedora actually sent me an email too. They were like, "Hey, man, come back," and they're in Orlando here where I'm at, and they're like, "Come back," and so probably next week. And everybody, it's so weird. Like everybody wants me to live stream it. They're like, "Go live so we can help you pick out your new fedora." So I was like, we'll see. But I'm gonna go back there and get another one.
So speaking of, for anyone who's not familiar with your show, you also do another show for Geeks and Gamers that's all about theme parks, where you do go live a lot and interact with the public. Can you tell us a little about that show?
So when I met Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, he reached out to me. I'll make long story short, but he was like, "Oh, I really want you on the team." He goes, "But what I really am looking for is someone to cover theme parks. And since I literally live a stone throws away from Magic Kingdom and all the theme parks, I was like, I'm your guy, man. I can do it." And so we just started that way. And it's been a weird journey. We started the theme park channel right when the world shut down. So I was like, well, this is going great. This is going great. I went to like some of the theme parks about 2 weeks before they shut down for the whole shutdown. And then once Florida opened up before the rest of the world, it seems like, and the theme parks opened up while people were still in lockdown, I just started going. And at first I was just like making videos, and then it was weird. Like Bloomberg reached out because they're like, "We need to know what's going on in the theme parks. So can you help us out here with like articles and all that?" And so all these news agencies it was kind of weird. We're reaching out while I'm just walking around Universal Studios or Legoland and things like that. They just wanted to know what was going on. If people were afraid. And so it kind of like skyrocketed the channel there right at the beginning. And now we just have fun. Now we just have fun. So it's been an awesome journey. But I will say this, as a YouTuber and a Twitter person, that when people don't agree with you, they can get kind of nasty with you and leave comments. Now, in the Star Wars community that I've known for, they're pretty brutal, but none, and I repeat, none have been more brutal than the theme park community. I have bumped into other channels telling me, "Hey, you don't belong here." I mean, right to my face. And
like the mafia?
Yeah, and they're just like, "There's too many theme park vloggers here. We don't need another one. And you're part of Geeks and Gamers, and they're speaking out against it. We don't want you." It's like, we don't want your kind here. We don't want your. Wow. And I'm a big dude, so first of all, I gave him respect for like I'm 6'4", 260. So it's like the fact that they would have the nerve to even say that, it's just that to me has been hilarious.
It is. It sounds like a Sharks versus Jets. It sounds like something that you would actually see at a theme park, maybe sort of
it's
a musical.
Crazy. It's device. When we started like really moving, like we would show up for live streams and it'd be like 100 downvotes before we went live. And I'm going, these people are nuts, man. Like these people. The other thing is too, is like we're pretty like balanced. Like we'll go there and just say, this stinks. Like this ain't, while everybody else is like, I'm at theme parks. Disney can do no wrong. It's so perfect here. And here I am. I'm like, nah, this sucks. Like they're charging too much. I wouldn't come to this. I'd go to this. So it's been quite the adventure.
And you do that. Do you do that every day?
I try to go like I try to be in the theme parks about 2 to 3 times a week. If like how it schedule wise and stuff. And then like throughout the week we just like talk about news topics and stuff. For me it's like it's a lot of fun because my brother lives down here and
Mhm.
going to theme parks has always been
Do you know, there are
you
people
live
who
here, you just go. So
I didn't realize it was like that in Florida as well, but in Los Angeles, I used to live in LA, and there were people I knew who had lived there their whole life, and they had the annual pass,
mhm,
and they would go every day
mhm.
or several times a week. And it was just I never thought of it that way, because if you don't live near one of these parks, it's sort of once in a magic, as a child, maybe you get to go there once. But the idea that people can just like go all the time,
I know.
it
And they
blew
tell me all the
my
time, they're like, if we ever hear you complain about your life, Jay, like you have to go to Disney World for, like for a living. Like people pay you to ride It's a Small World. What's wrong with you? You better be smiling every day. So
It's like the Devil Wears Prada, but with theme parks. You better not complain. People would kill for this job.
I know you're absolutely right, and it's a blessing, and very grateful that Jeremy of all people, he reached out and he was like, hey, let's make this happen. So I have a great team that works with me when I'm not there, and it just kind of falls in line with what I've always been doing. I've never been a homebody.
Mm.
I get cabin fever when I'm at home, and I've traveled around the world twice again, and I'm gonna do it again
Well,
this time with a camera, well, as much as I can with what's going on.
yeah, I was going to say that's
Um,
interesting. When are you planning on doing that?
I just started. Actually, I'm starting in America. So the other channel that I have is called Jaywalking the Planet. So like for for like 12, 15, roughly around almost 15 years of my life, I don't know what you classify it. People say humanitarian, but um basically I was supposed to my life was after college, I was actually gonna long story short, I was actually gonna move to Africa in Kenya. And
No
I was
way.
working, yeah, I was working with a group there that was helping the HIV pandemic, and I was going to stay there for some time, and then the earthquake happened in Haiti in 2010, January of 2010. And the same organization that here I was in Florida, they were like, "Hey, we need emergency help." They're like, "Do you want to help for a couple days?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll go." So I went, and I ended up staying for like 3.5 years. And then from that, it was interesting because they were like, "There's an American on the ground. He speaks Creole, like the Haitian. I don't speak it very well, but I speak enough." And so they kept sending me teams. And this is like the short version. They kept sending me, they're like, "Hey, we're going to bring like 30 doctors. Can you pick them up and take them where they need to go?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So I'm like the bus driver man in Haiti. And, they're like, "We're bringing a bunch of food. Can you get it somewhere?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And then all these other organizations began reaching out saying, "Hey, would you like to lead a team to Cambodia? Would you like to go to China? Would you like to go?" And me just being like, not even thinking twice, I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So
Like go visit and see, and
well,
yeah, wow.
they were cool trips because we did a lot of good work.
Right.
And then like I took 3, 4 extra days to just see.
See the
The
place
problem was I never brought cameras. So this time I want to go back whenever I'm
with
allowed to
cameras.
with
Did you
cameras.
ever make it to East Africa? I lived in Tanzania for
Oh
half a
yeah.
year. Yeah, I was going to
I was
ask.
only I was in Rwanda and Cambodia.
Oh, okay.
So that was it. Those two places. And right outside of Nairobi, at the time, if they discovered you had HIV or AIDS, you were like shunned from the community. And so all
Mm,
these little
yeah.
poverty-stricken towns were popping up with people that had AIDS, and it was sad. And we were just trying to, not give them a handout, but just they knew their fate. Like, we're gonna make it work out here. So it's like just helping them with agriculture, clean water initiatives, and stuff like that.
So you worked with humanitarian causes for, what was that, 3 years? You said, in
Almost
all the
15.
15.
Yeah.
Wow, in all these different places. Okay, so then how did you take us on the path to how you became Drunk 3PO?
Drunk 3PO, yeah. So, when I in Cambodia was like the last one of the last trips I did, and for whatever reason, that for whatever reason, the horrors of seeing children die, like hunger and all. I'm not trying to get dark or anything, but
Yeah.
all these memories, for whatever reason, when I got back on the plane to come back to the States, it really messed me up. I mean, and I have no shame in saying, like, I had to go to counseling. It just was like, it just messed me. I had nightmares anyway, long story, but I had all that, and it messed up relationships and things like it. It really had an effect on me because I don't think I ever truly detoxed, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but never really processed because, for 10 years, you're seeing suffering, hunger,
Yeah.
and you're just like, all right, let's go to the next. Okay, let's go to the next. And you now don't really process how terrible that actually is. So I come back to the States, and my counselor was like, you need to find a hobby that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with like poverty or anything, like something that you really love. And so I was like, I like Star Wars. I had some friends, we're all just Star Wars fans. And we all just made really dumb names. And Drunk 3PO was one of them. And like, we're all just like my brother's name is like Buzzed R2D2 and all that. And so we just started a weekly thing on YouTube in front of nobody, maybe one person, where we just talked
Yeah.
Star Wars. And I became a school teacher. I moved to Orlando and was just trying to balance life out again. And I don't know how all this happened, to be honest with you. It's only been on YouTube like 2.5 years. And I just started talking about Star Wars, and I got lucky because they were building Galaxy's Edge right, down the street. And I just was like, I know people that are working on the site, and I'm just telling them on my channel, I'm like, this is what's going on. And it just skyrocketed my channel. And I couldn't believe it. I never
Yeah.
expected it. It wasn't a dream to be where I'm at today. Like it wasn't a thought process. To me, it was a bunch
Right.
of people having fun, connecting because we lived in different areas, like what we're doing now. It's like,
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like one of the interviews I watched with you, you were talking about how you didn't like one of the movies,
yeah.
and you started to comment about that on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time you ran up against sort of a mob. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So the Last Jedi came out, and I hated it. I hated that movie. And as a Star Wars fan that I think that I am, I just started like, I'm like, how can people like this? Is a terrible film. Like, how do people like it? And there was an author who writes for StarWars.com, and he was having a Twitter, I don't know, discussion, and he was like doing these threads, and he was talking about the movie. And I just did one little comment. I was like, he was talking about Luke Skywalker, and I was like, how can you say that is how Luke Skywalker would end up? Like, question mark. And sure enough, he's like, oh, we have one of those on my Twitter, everyone. And I'm like, one of those?
One of those.
And then it was like the dog pile came, and it freaked me out. It never happened to me before. I like deleted the tweet. I deleted I just like, oh my God, like, what is this? Like, I don't want, like, it's crazy. And then speaking to my friends and everything, they're like, man, make a Drunk 3. And this was like my personal account. It was like J45116, had 20 followers, nothing major. And they're like, make a Drunk 3PO account and just let it ride, man. Just let it ride. You don't have to give your identity or anything. And so I did. And again, never thought it would be. I never thought, and it wasn't my intention, but it was just like, and that was my first taste of cancel culture. And if you don't think like we, then you're not one of us. You must be shunned from the community. It's almost like you have leprosy. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, get over there, you leper, like you're unclean.
Well, did you
like,
notice how they already had a category for you? That's like the most interesting
I know.
things, that they're like one of those. So it's all you say is, I didn't like this movie, or I didn't think this character would turn out this way. Do you buy this? And then boom, that's it. You're in this box.
Yeah.
And now we know all these things about you, or assume that we assume all these things about you,
They
really.
called me like those people that in World War II, I know we can't say certain
Yeah.
things on you, but you know what I'm talking about. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you call me that? And then they're like, oh, you're racist. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're talking about a Star Wars movie. And it just begins to, it escalates. And, then like I get associated with Geeks and Gamers. And now that really just took whatever they thought about me into a whole nother level of what they think I am and who I am. And
we call them on our show unpersons. You're an unperson.
that's it.
They've made you into an unperson. So
it's true though. It's crazy how their mind just is like, they disagree with us. So you're automatically boom, 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 A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So
have you heard of, in psychology, they call it splitting. Have you heard of this term before?
No, I haven't.
So a lot of times they talk about it when they're talking about personality disorders, like borderline personality disorder, which is one of the cluster B personality disorders. They do a lot of splitting. And all of the characteristics of some of these disorders, they're all human things that everyone will do from time to time, but it's to an extreme. And so splitting is when you see everything in black and white. People are either good or evil. There's no gray area, which is where most everything happens. Wow. Is in the gray area. But they really view people, a lot of borderline people, they view everyone as you're good or you're bad. And I think a lot of the social justice mindset, my old belief system, is like that. They immediately put you in that box. You're bad. You're one of those. That's it. There's no gray area. There's good.
But they do that without research.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like whatever the mob says, it must be true.
Yes.
So it's like, they're like, okay, I see all these people. They're all saying this guy's a this, so it's got to be true. So let's just jump on and go,
Yeah.
And
if you think about it, though, it makes the world seem more, I guess, maybe less scary for someone who's scared of all the nuances and about, because then it's like, okay, the world is basically, I go out, I look, there's this guy, Drunk3PO, he's saying he doesn't like Star Wars, bad guy. I can cut him out of my life. Like there's good guys and bad guys, and that's the way I'm going to view the world. And I don't know. So I'm just kind of rambling here now, but that.
No, I guess, but it's true. It's just, the interesting thing is how easy the younger generation grabs a hold of that. And how I saw it, I taught fifth grade, and they even will see memes and take that as truth. If someone puts together a really good meme about the president, or that he did this, and a lot of times it's like at that young age, they could even see photoshopped pictures and say, well, that's real.
Wow.
And how easy it, manipulation of the mind, especially, and then they can get you. So to believe what they want you to believe.
Are you still teaching?
I am. But what happened, this was interesting. My last year in the classroom, it was a difficult one because I'm a good teacher, and I loved fifth and sixth grade because I got them all day, and I just made teaching fun because I know myself, like I wouldn't want to sit. So like for science, we'd go outside and like, anyway, all these things. And it was kind of interesting. The year that I said I'm not going to do it, I was also the basketball coach. It was difficult because I took a job teaching online because my heart was ready to, I was going to travel the world again. Like I was ready. And so I was like, let me take this online teaching position where I could work anywhere in the world. So if I ended up going to Paris or wherever, as long as there was internet, I could get my work done and and then go do what I always wanted to do. That's been my dream. So to this time take a camera. And so it started out like I was getting ready to go, and then the school year started in September for me, and I was like mapping out all these things, and I was going to leave in February. And actually, I was going to spend a whole month in El Salvador in March, and just had it all ready. I even had some of the tickets bought. And sure enough, like life just, they shut everything down, and I was like, wow, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Blessing in disguise for whatever reason. My job actually I got a lot of raises and contracts to teach because online teachers were in super high demand last year. So
Yeah.
the other teachers that were kind of getting like put on, government assistance because there's no work and things like that. I'm like working 2 shifts, and like my mindset was like, let me work as much as I can to save up enough money so when this is all over, I can get back on a plane and do what I got to do. So it was a blessing, sort of, and I still do that today. I'm on like summer break, so I don't really kick back in to work till September. So
do you ever worry about this sort of the online cancel culture mob that we talked about trying to come for you in real life?
no, they have.
Oh, okay.
They reached out to my school. Some people reached out to my school that I work for, and
Wow.
they just blew it up. Paid it no mind.
Yeah.
It wasn't as big of an attack like it was just a couple people.
Yeah.
And Jay that you got working there is a racist and everything, and they found out. So now it's like more just being a little more careful with
Yeah.
identity and things like that, just to be careful. But I mean, if people really, really, really wanted to find out stuff, they can. It's really not that hard. I mean, after the Gina interview, when I was mentioned on Fox News, that was kind of like, that was cool. And then you're like, oh, the emails start pouring in, and like TMZ and all these places were just like, hey, I'm like, this is weird. Like I remember like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamer, I was like, I'm sending them these emails like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. He's like, just don't answer them. And I'm like, and then my Twitters was like, it was crazy. And then from the good stuff comes the bad stuff, comes death threats and, just, crazy. We know where you live. And we had one guy that was just, Gina's my girlfriend, and how dare you do an interview? I'm going to kill you because, and you're just
Crazies.
like, geez, like and this is what I tell people. It's like a few years ago, wouldn't even know who the heck I was out in Haiti somewhere, building homes, nothing big. And now look at me, mentioned on Fox News. Like I never in a million years. Like I said, there's parts of it that are like, that's cool. But then for someone like me that's not used to that stuff, it was a little stressful, to be honest with you. Because when I theme park vlog, like everyone will know where I'm at. It's like, I'm at Universal Studios today.
I know. Yeah.
And they can just follow the live stream and know exactly where I'm standing. And that's happened multiple times. Actually, it happens almost every time I go live now. People will be like, Jay, hey, I met you. I know where you're at. Like, and it's been very pleasant.
Yeah.
So
can you tell why do you think it is that you said, 2 years ago you were just doing humanitarian stuff. Now you have this channel, and there's a lot of positive and a lot of negative that comes with that. Why did it blow up the way it did? Why are people seeking out alternative media? In your opinion,
they don't trust anybody else. Like it's hard for me to watch any news right now because it's like CNN will put out something ridiculous and you're like, what is that? And then Fox will just try to rebut that. And it's like, you're missing like it's more, and they're just like, oh, this agency's, look at them, they're crazy. And they're like, no, this is the truth. And it's just finding the truth in muddy waters is very difficult.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And everyone's seeking truth. Everybody wants to know what's going on. And when you're only given like 2% of 100 of the story, and then now it's all opinion pieces where that's how they get away with it. They could just make stuff up and say, well, it was an opinion. It was an
Mhm.
opinion piece. It's an opinion piece. And uh, people are, after a while, you just kind of get tired of being fed the same thing. And you're just like, there's got to be a voice out there that I can listen to that makes sense of all this that's going on, because the world is upside down, and it's crazy times. It's like crazy, especially here in America. I've never thought you'd see the day where they told you can't leave your house. Like that.
Yeah.
That was never been afraid of America. Like that was, I never was scared, but that was eye opening. It was like, man, that's legit. Like that's really something. And seeing a world perspective of what other people struggle with and go through. Most people they just struggle with trying to find food every day, or clean water or something, or they just want their kids to go to school, and they work these manual labor jobs like till they almost drop dead just to get their kids to school. And then you come to America, and then where people are, what I'm saying is, like, people overseas don't understand why people that live in America hate it so much. That's like the biggest question I always got. They're like, if they hate it there so much, why are they there? They're like,
Yeah.
I would trade places with them, like,
Yeah.
and so yeah. So now you've got media and all these outlets of people saying all kinds of ridiculous, crazy things, and then labeling you if you don't agree with them. And I think people now are just like, I'm tired of it. Stop calling me names if I disagree with you. How dare who are you? Stop telling me what
Yeah.
to do. Stop forcing stuff on me, because that's not what America's about. That's why we broke away. That's why we did all that stuff, because we didn't want to be forced to do stuff that we didn't want to do, and yet here we are, back again.
Are
So,
you a Christian man? I see you wearing a cross.
my dad. So my dad was a preacher,
Mhm.
and but he was like, they called it bivocational, so he didn't get paid, so he also worked. And it's weird. Like, I had lost my faith for a while, and my bachelor's degree is in religion. So I went on this really
Yeah.
weird journey early in life to see if there was a God.
Yeah.
And I went to China and visited Buddhists. I did all this crazy. I was in the Middle East and trying to understand the Quran, and I just all this stuff, because I was just confused
Well, and
young
what
man
searching for truth.
searching for truth. And it was interesting. So we got to this one place where this guy goes, Jay, man, you're overthinking. He goes, go find a Bible and just read the red letters. It's like, don't read anything, don't get complicated, don't study it in Greek, don't sing songs about it, don't do it. Just read the red letters and tell me what you think. That's all I want you to do. Just read the red letter. Like, if you know what that means, that's just the words
Yeah.
of Christ. So he's like, just read that. Don't get into all this. Don't get into all that. He's like, you're overthinking. And I was like, okay, I've read hundreds of books. I've traveled. I've done all this stuff to find. And you're just telling me to go all the way back home and just read what I've heard my whole life. He goes, just read it. Just read it. So sure enough, I took it a little more simplistic approach, where it was like, if you see someone hungry, give them something to eat. And I'm like, well, that's not complicated.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, why are we I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why have we made that complicated? Why do we have to study that in the original Hebrew before we do it? Why do we have to put prayer groups together before we actually do that? Why do we have to make songs about that before we actually do that? It's like, it's not complicated. And he's just like, if I'm thirsty, give me something to drink. Yeah, if you see someone that needs clothes, if you got two coats, give one of your coats away. And like, I started looking at that. I'm like, is it really that simple? Is it really that simple? And it's like, learn to forgive people that hurt you. And just seeing like Jesus' life and his simple. I mean, they're not. They're simple. They're very. It's very simple but complex. But it's just
It's simple in terms of, I think, like saying, but it's hard to actually live it. And that's what I would say. It's hard to actually live it. And so people hear stuff like this. You're making me laugh because I'm a pretty new Christian. And when I came to God, it was like kicking and screaming. But I had a similar moment of when I opened up the Bible and started looking at it, I'm like, oh, like he says, don't lie. Like that would have saved me so much heartache.
It's like, don't murder. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Or just things that it's sort of, you insist on learning the hard way. And then it's like, but this book is sort of telling you, hey, this is the best way to live. You know?
And that's just what I've become, because I realized that Jesus, the only people he got mad at, he didn't get mad at people that were messing up. He didn't get mad at prostitutes, people stealing, like the tax guy. He didn't really get mad at them. He got mad at religious people.
He got mad at hypocrites.
He just got mad at all the religious people.
Yes.
And he was just like, you are the ones that are making all these people act this way because you think you're better than everyone else. So stop it, And I mean, the only time he really had a bout of anger, is he went into church and he just started throwing tables, and driving people out. And I'm thinking, wow. It's like, of all people.
You know what I think, Jay? I think that is because I don't really have a problem with people. I don't have a problem with language, with words. They're just words. I don't have a problem with curse words. But when I think about taking the Lord's name in vain, to me, that's when you try to put God's name on something that is not of God. And so when he's like going after throwing the tables and stuff, it's like, you're putting God's name on something that's not of God. You're putting like all those Pharisees that, the one that stands on the street corner and prays on the street corner so that he might be seen praying. You're a hypocrite. You're putting God's name on something that God does not support, like this sort of virtue signaling. The Pharisees are the OG virtue signalers. They're like the woke in the Bible, the ones who say things so that they may be seen saying it and get applause for it. And
he didn't like that.
No.
So it was just like, and that's, and on this, everybody's, whether they take a journey of faith or wherever, it's a never ending learning it should be a never ending learning process, is what I'm saying. And learning about God and who he is in your life or who God is in your life and what he wants of you and what he has for you and trying to understand why he loves you. And it's a never ending process. So, because before as a preacher's kid, I guess you'd say, we felt so bogged down with like a checklist rules of how to live that I'm like, that ain't for me.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I can live up to your standards. So if I can't live up to your standards and I can't live up to God's standards, then what's the point? Then then I'm just going to just try to live as happy and fulfilled as I possibly can. Because if God ain't going to love me because I can't live to his standards, then what's the point? And so for me to unlearn that thinking of just, you're too complicating it, Jay. Like, just relax, man. Just start with the easy stuff, and and just take it one day at a time. Like I said, like, this person's hungry, give him some food. All right, I could do that, God. That's easy. He's hungry.
Yeah.
I bought you a hamburger. There you go. And then you just kind of build these little steps. And while you're building up these little steps, God begins chipping away little things that, in your life, and that he wants you to just be the best Jay I can be. Doesn't want me to be anybody else. Doesn't want me, to be you. Doesn't want me to be anybody. He wants me to be who I am, and not everyone, is supposed to be me. So and once you understand that, and so this is the thing, and sorry if I'm really going off here. I hope everyone understands what I'm saying. For people the way I see life, for people to find a purpose or a passion, there's two things they've got to understand about themselves, because this is what I had to learn. Even when I was like working out in the field and all that stuff, you got to learn first to love yourself. And the sad reality is that even in some churches or religion or friends, even family, or even people in your circle, they have built inside of you so much either shame or whatever that you don't understand how to love yourself. Like you're not happy in your own skin. You're always comparing yourself to everyone else. I wish I looked that way. I wish I did this with it's perfect, this and that. And it's very hard to love yourself if you're always comparing yourself and always seeing yourself in a negative light. But once you get to that corner of this is who I am, I'm going to do my best to better myself and love myself, then you can begin to start to love others in a
Yes.
way that you haven't done before. And I always tell people that you've got to get to a place of serving. I believe everyone should serve others, maybe even if it's for a week, even if it's volunteering, even if it's just once a year. You should try to do that once and do it in a way where you mentally understand you will get nothing back, absolutely nothing, not even a thank. Like, go in with the attitude of no one's even going to thank me. And once you figure that out, because you've learned to love yourself, now you learn to love people, you begin to see the world differently. And when you start to see the world differently, the passions and the things that you have inside of you that you want to accomplish, you understand that I can really give this out to the world. And I believe that everyone was born to do something to make this world better. And again, going back to when you learn to love yourself, you won't compare to others. They're like, oh man, Jay built houses around the world. I can never be like that, so I'm not going to do it. No. Not everyone's supposed to do that. Some people are good listeners. Some people are creative. Some people can draw. Some people can paint. Some people are good with numbers. Some people, I mean, they can do things that I could never do. And so once you learn to love yourself and stop comparing yourself to others, you will understand more on how important your passion and purpose and value is to the world that you're living in today. Now, that was a lot. I just threw up all over everyone. I hope you understood what I was trying to say. And if you were confused, just say I was confused and just skip that part and we'll just move on.
I think even we have a pretty great audience. I have to say the atheists are very tolerant usually and Carter, my co-host, is atheist, very tolerant of me talking about some of this stuff. And because also I think you don't have to be Christian for this to make sense. You don't have to be, these are ways to live.
That's the thing is, again, I noticed a lot of it as a school teacher with young people that feel they have no value in this world. None, because they're not like so-and-so. And so it was like, stop comparing yourself to whoever you're comparing yourself with and learn to say, no, this is who I am. I'm important. I have value. And just because I don't have 1 million followers on Instagram doesn't mean I have any less value than anyone else. Like, and it's just trying to change their thinking of learning to love themselves of who they are. Not everyone's going to have blonde hair and blue eyes. Not everyone's going to, it's some people are more athletic than others. Some people are more creative. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. And we have done. Oh, go ahead.
Do you think that a part of what we call woke or social justice ideology, my old belief system, do you think a part of it is this inability to sit comfortably with that, with the fact that we're all different and we all have different talents?
In the education system now, the ones that are pushing for everyone gets a trophy, no need to take standardized tests, which that's a whole nother debate in itself. Everyone should just pass for being there. A lot of it comes from the woke culture crowd. And sitting here and listening to them, they're like, we don't want to upset the kids. So when we're going to play basketball, I don't care what the score is, everybody wins. We don't want to upset the kids. Like right now, there's this mandate where they don't want anyone grading with red ink. Can't use red ink because that upsets kids. Right. That's how bad it's gotten. So some teachers have reached out and they're like, we can no longer use red pens to like say this is wrong.
What are they using?
Think about the generation. That's what I'm saying. I know, right? Think about the generation that's coming up where it doesn't matter what they turn in. they're going to pass. So now you're teaching young people that I don't have to practice. I don't have to give it my all. I ain't got to study. What's the point? And then for those that feel like my paper was so much better because I took all this time and creativity and I really want to be a writer, but you're giving this person who literally wrote it during lunch the same, grade, what then I have no value here. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
So
do.
it's like I don't have I don't have a place. I don't have a place because we're all the same, because you don't want
Yeah.
to hurt their feelings. And it's teaching a generation like what's the point? I'll just
Have,
like I could just do whatever I want and get whatever I want and do whatever I want, and I could be lazy on top of it. So
have you read, I know a lot of people have brought this up in the past year, and rightfully so, because it's very relevant now, but have you read Harrisonbergeron, the short story?
no.
Oh my goodness,
Should I?
Jay. Yes, it's only like a couple pages. You can find it free online. So Kurt Vonnegut's short story Harrisonbergeron is basically a future. It's a dystopian futuristic short story, and it's basically a future where they want to make everyone equal to protect everyone's feelings. And so the government has come in and given everyone handicaps based on what their talents are. So the smartest people have a chip in their brain, or they have a little sound device that disrupts their thoughts every few minutes, that like an alarm, so they can't think too much. The ballerinas who are there's a character who's watching a program and they're ballerinas, and some of the dancers, the best dancers, have weights on them so that they can't dance as well as they could, so that all the ballerinas are equally talented. And the most beautiful people have to wear, bags over their faces so that you can't see that they're
Yeah,
beautiful.
I can't read books like that because that'll upset me. I watched Wally. Remember Wally?
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, that's where we're heading it, folks. We just watch
Yeah.
TV and drink
Yeah.
milkshakes and not do anything creative. And let the
Yeah.
robots do it all. It's like watching that, I was like, man, this movie's disturbing
It's
because
depressing.
this could be real, like in a matter of years. I have been on a kick ever since the Gina Carano incident when she was let go from Disney for speaking out, where this whole welcome to rebellion thing that my community loves to talk about and push. It's all about independent creators. And so I have been on a kick in reading, and people that want to be authors, that they're like, I have a book, but nobody reads it. You know what I mean? Like those,
Yeah.
and I keep telling, like, just send them to me. Now I have a book now from my friend. Well, his screen name is called Yojitsu, but his dad was a police officer, and he helped write a book about his dad's life of like the underground crime in some of the cities that he worked for, and didn't get a lot of traction. But it's like real stories written by independent people, because I think Hollywood is a mess right now. The stories are a mess, so let's promote people with more creativity and
Independent. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the whole welcome to rebellion thing. So if you, for those that did
Is
follow
it
me on Twitter and all that stuff, that's all been wrapped up with like the Gina Carano movement, where she's like, I'm gonna make my own films. Forget it. They
do
don't
your
want
own
me.
thing?
I'm gonna do my own thing, and I'm gonna be happy. And she's freaking happy as like she gets it. It's not a big Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, listen, we all get it. But right now, it's like I need peace of mind. I want freedom to share whatever I feel like it's necessary to share. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not going to hate you. And I'm going to go make movies that I love. And
Yeah.
that's just what I want to do. And that's, I think more people should be doing that. There's people that need to write books that they've been sitting on forever, or, maybe you need to volunteer, teaching art class. Me and my friends for years, when I was in Fort Lauderdale, every summer there was a trail, like, mobile home park near the place that we were at, and for a month and a half we did free music lessons for like kids that couldn't afford it. I see the piano behind me, and so we had some that taught the guitar and bass and keyboards and stuff, and we loved it. It was headaches because I've got like 60 kids with like broken down keyboards that we got from yard sales and everything else, and like you can hear them all hit the wrong note at the same time. But it's like giving, and out of all of them, there was like one or two you could always tell that are like, you really got, you're picking this up like,
Yeah.
no other, and you really need to push this gift. Many of them didn't even know they had that within them because they weren't given a chance, and so it's like you never know if you've got that next great book inside of you. You just got to take a chance and just sit down and get it done, or that wonderful painting that could be hung for time end. You never know. You never know unless you do it. And if you fail, it is what it is. Failure is a part of life, and you got to learn. If you love yourself and you fail, you'll be like, I gave it my best. I put 100% in, and I'll never be able to look back and go, man, maybe I could have, but.
Plus, I think the failures, as someone who's had to get used to failures, again, living in this culture that wants to protect kids and protect everyone from trying, from failing, it's like the failures are what prepare you for the successes. You have to have a lot of failures before you
That's
get
the other
successes.
thing is, and that's the problem with this generation coming up. They fail once, they done. It's just like, so that's why we're building you're not gonna fail, Billy. Go out and play basketball and miss every shot. Your team's gonna win. It's just like it's okay. Just go do it. And
Can we talk a little? I want to switch gears here and talk about what happened to you. Now, just so you know, I want to talk about censorship for a second. If you guys are watching this interview and you're watching it on Odysee, we're going to be doing a lot more stuff on Odysee from now on because Odysee doesn't censor. We're still going to keep our YouTube channel. We're going to write it till the wheels fall off. But there are certain things we can't talk about there. And if you're watching this interview later, it's because we currently have a second strike on our unsafe space channel, and we're not allowed to post anything for 2 weeks. So this will be only available to Odysee people, and it's free to watch it there for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll put it up on YouTube. All of that being said, yesterday, I went to message you actually and make sure I was going to message you something, and it kept saying it didn't go through. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I get banned from Twitter? And then I check your name, like, no, you got banned from Twitter. Oh my goodness. So tell us what happened with your ban. I saw your video about it, but if you want to give us some.
I was on the phone with someone, and I was like, I was telling her, I was like, yeah, it's on my Twitter. And she's like, Jay, I think they nuked your Twitter. And I was like, what? And I went to get on, and I was like, what? This is crazy. What is this? And then you check the email, and they were like, you have a DC, what is it? A DCMA claim? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
DMCA claim? Whatever, those letters.
Copyright.
Yeah. And I was like, a copyright on Twitter? And so it would happen in February. So there was the tweet, and they're like, here's the tweet in question. And so I clicked on it to see what it was, because I hardly even cuss on Twitter. I hardly. I try not to. And the only thing I could think of was I always kept posting the Gina Carano with that saxophone from was it Wham? I'm never gonna dance. Careless Whisper. I posted that like 15 to 20. It's easy because it bothers people. I don't know why it bothers people. It bothers people. It bothers the right people. Yeah, and I'm like, they're like, yeah, there was a 4-second song that we're locking you out of your Twitter.
They went back and found a tweet from 6 months ago.
It was February. Yeah. Has that been 6 months?
Yeah. And half a year ago, so they can permanently ban you. This is why we're all going to end up perma banned from these major platforms eventually, because once they've decided that you're in that bad people box we've talked about, there are people who are going to be combing through just trying to find stuff that we've said, does this apply? Does this apply? Can I get them banned for this? And of course, like in any totalitarian kind of environment, those rules, their rules and guidelines are applied arbitrarily, selectively is a better word, only to some people, not to others, right? Do you think they're going to, did you appeal it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Twitter it is what it is. But I have 20,000 followers, and for someone like me, that's a pretty cool. I was like, for someone like me, that's like pretty cool. Like I never, again, like I'm one of those people that I get, like every time I get new followers, I get like, it puts a smile on my face because my mindset is, I'm not in the entertainment. I'm just a guy with a cheap webcam.
Yeah.
I just like to have fun. I like to see people happy. I like to see when my friends succeed. My Twitter has turned, so when my Twitter account was like at 100, 500 followers, I was a little more aggressive when people were aggressive at me. When you get to like 5,000, you got to pay a little more attention. At least I did, because now it's like when someone was like, "Oh, you're this," and I would come back. I noticed now I have a lot more followers, and they begin the dog pile effect on the person attacking me. And I'm kind of like, I watched this and I'm like, I don't know if I really want that so much. So then when Gina was getting attacked by Lucasfilm employees, and I was like, here I am on Twitter defending her, and all, because she would never do that. Here I am, defending her, and my Twitter account started going 10,000, 12,000, 14,000. I really saw like the major like dogpiling on these people. Sometimes it felt good because but at the end of the day, and I'm not gonna lie, it's like this person like literally has come out and called this woman the most horrendous things. It's like, no, I gotta expose that. I'm sorry, like that. You gotta be exposed. And then what I liked about it, like a lot of them deleted that tweet. They deleted it, after they saw like all the attention it got. And so it got to the point where, I hit 20,000. Again, that's still a small number on the scale of Twitter, but for me, it's like, my gosh.
Oh yeah.
I just have to be careful. I started becoming a lot more conscious and careful in who I talk to, and because I know there's a lot of eyes on me. After the Gina Carano interview, something weird was happening to my Twitter, and several of my friends were noticing it, that no matter what I posted, no matter what I responded to, there was like 7 to 15 people that just retweeted it. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter what I said. I said the word boats, and it was like retweeted. And somebody reached out to me and they said, well, a lot of news agencies has like bots on Twitter that will just automatically retweet anything you say. So if they miss it, they can just go back to that bot account and see what you've said. Like if I said something crazy, and when Gina Carano's firing was really hot news, everybody was trying to get a scoop or a story on, if is she friends with Pedro Pascal? Is this happening? Is that? Yeah. So, and I was having fun with Twitter. I would just tweet out emojis, like a smiley face. Get like 45 retweets. And I'm like, see, what is that? Like, why would they?
What is that?
But yeah. And so now it's like, Twitter has, with the good and the bad, I hope I get it back, but it just goes to show you how easy they could just say, we don't like this person this week. Let me remind Jay that we're in charge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and as I was saying to you before we started recording, is the thing about living in a censorious society is that when they come after a person, they're not just trying to instill you with fear. Let's say they reinstate your account. Now, psychologically, even if you don't realize it, you're going to be probably a little more careful. There's more of an internal censor. There is for me on YouTube. We try to avoid it. We try to still say whatever we want, but I know there are certain words now I'm like, it's not worth it. I'm not going to say the name of that drug or that, And so they are successful at just chipping away just a little bit at your own freedom of speech. And then, but more than that, it's the people who are watching, because if you have a following of 20,000, those people see what happened to you. Then it's that little chilling effect in them as well. And it just spreads, and people just become more tight-lipped and they come up with coded language. We were having so much fun with, the first time I was on the Friday Night Tights show, and they are the ones that taught me the word, the coof. Yeah. And so then I was thinking about the 1920s and how they had such an amazing lexicon during the prohibition and that whole time period. I'm like, we need a new 20s lexicon full of words for other words so we can actually talk on YouTube. So I think maybe you could help come up with a dictionary of things of where just sort of this is this word, this is just completely coded language.
I've been using like old slang like from the 80s, and people are like, man, I hadn't heard that joke in a long time, Jay. I'm like, well, it seems like they just started censoring around like 2010, so all that verbiage from that. So if you go back and
they don't know any of that
girl or something, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Social media.
Mm-hmm.
You think how big a role has it played in the destruction of some things or the good in some things? From your perspective.
Yeah, I think it is definitely, well, first the bad. I think it has sped up some things that might have taken longer otherwise. And the proliferation of social justice ideology, my old belief system, which I most often describe it as it's just a mutated kind of Marxism. I know people have different ways of describing it, but
sure.
The way I describe it is, Marxism of old is sort of, it tells us that the best way to look at the world is as a struggle for wealth among class groups. And so we need to take this wealth and redistribute it and make things equal. And this is a mutated form of that. It says, okay, well, that didn't work. So no, the best way to look at the world is as a struggle for power among identity groups. So we need to take this power and redistribute it based on identity groups. So, but just like the Marxism of old, that necessarily means you can't treat people as individuals. You have to treat them as whatever group they're in. So it's collectivist in that way, just like white supremacy. It's like it looks at you and says, you're not an individual. You are white, you're a man, you're in all these different groups, right? And we're going to treat you accordingly. So it's inherently racist. It's inherently sexist. Although it says it's fighting those things, it's actually teaching you. It taught me to judge and treat people differently on the basis of race and sex, supposedly so we could end those things. It was like, what? I can't believe I ever bought into all that, but I did. And a lot of well-meaning people do buy into it. That's a long build up to say, I don't think that belief system would have spread as fast as it did without social media. The past few years, there was an acceleration point that happened after George Floyd. It could have been anything, but that's the one that caught fire, where it then moved into a new stage where it became culturally dominant and mainstream. It made the jump. It's like a virus that mutated and it made the jump out of the colleges into all the corporations are speaking it. Political parties are speaking it. All the entertainment properties are speaking it. And you've got McDonald's tweeting stuff about white privilege. It's like it made that jump into the mainstream. And I think a lot of that was because of social media and because people have you don't have to have the majority of the population behind you or believing in this belief system. But if you've got loud voices on Twitter,
a good hashtag.
Yes. So that's a long answer. And then, but on the positive side, yes, I think it also can be a tool that we use to bring down some of this orthodoxy. Because look at us, look at you and me. We're talking, we haven't been banned yet. I think eventually they will be kicking everyone like us off of the major platforms, but maybe that's going to backfire because at that point, the only reason some of these other alternatives haven't really taken off is they're they're buying up or squashing the competition. They're smearing them in the press as right wing, but also because we want to talk to the masses. We want our show to reach the masses, so we're still on YouTube. But the minute we get banned permanently, well, guess what? Then we're just on Odysee. So like once they ban all of us permanently, I think it might backfire on them.
So you ready for my thoughts?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, that was long.
No, I love it. You could go for another 20 minutes. I love this stuff. I love it. Don't ever think you're going long because I'm like learning, and I love hearing people's perspectives. I think social media, I think it has it has thrusted a lot of depression and fear in people. we'll start with basically what you were saying, things like that. I've never seen people so sad by going online. So you
Mm.
take Instagram. Everyone is seeing everyone's best picture and where they are. And what does that tell the individual looking at it? Man, I don't have that. Why can't I go? I'm too broke. I ain't like this. Look at this person in a bikini in Hawaii at a waterfall, and here I am living some, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
or they'll see their friends at a party that they weren't invited to. We had to deal with a terrible suicide in our town of a young girl who just bullied on social media, made her depressed, and she took her own life. And it was a wake up call for so many of us older ones. Like, got to take this a little serious now. If it's getting to that point, you go on Twitter. Twitter only pushes negativity, negativity and drama. So when you post like happy thoughts, like here's a puppy, it just kind of gets drowned out with look how terrible this president, or look how terrible this person is. Look how terrible.
Mm.
And so people that go on Twitter are like, the world is so terrible and negative. It just makes me sad. Like what's the point? So it skyrockets. It skyrockets that. Facebook now has turned into, how I communicate with my mom. So I don't know what's going on over there. And but
It's similar.
Yeah. So it's like I just kind of over Facebook now. But when Mark Zuckerberg posted that video of him holding the American flag out on the water, right? He was like surfing, he was holding the flag. I was like, isn't that interesting? Then Florida, where I live, passed a law that if they deplatform me, I can sue them, right?
Right.
And this is what I think. I think social media, the powers that be, are starting to look like, if the right people get put in government, we could be screwed.
Oh,
They
yeah.
might give us the power to sue them for millions of dollars for deplatforming, for things like that. Even though they're a private company, it's just the way things are worded. So what I think might happen is a different form of terms of service might show up. And if the right people get put in place and they pass these laws, we might not be, this is all in the positive. We might not be as censored as a lot of people think that we might be, because, they could be scared of like all of us now. I think that's why Zuckerberg did that. I honestly think that's why he did that. He looked terribly cringe. Did you
With
see
the flag?
He's like trying to stand on a surfboard and he's holding the flag in the sun. Like it was like, all right. Because I get it, like what our governor did in Florida it just kind of, that whole law that he passed just kind of went under no one's really talking about it, but it protects us as creators that live in Florida, from stuff like that. The lawyer for Geeks and Gamers, like when he saw my Twitter was banned, he goes, "You live in Florida, right, Jay?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You want to?" I was like, "Nah, let's just see what they do."
Yeah.
Well, let's just see what they do. Like before, like we start digging into anything. I said, so if
But
I
it's
did
an
like
option.
copyrighted music, maybe they've got something. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So it's like, and for everyone listening, he wasn't talking about suing them or anything like that. I'm not suing Twitter. Let me just get that out. But yeah, that's what I think. I think they see that that's a possible, and I also think that's why they push that progressive, or what, I don't even know what you call it, SJW thinking. Because if they're in charge, laws like that ain't gonna get passed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they could still make gazillions of dollars, as long as like certain laws aren't passed. So that's what I hope. That's what I think could possibly happen, but who knows? Who knows?
I think it's I think it's interesting that regardless of the legality of it, mass censorship is wrong. It's not a good thing.
And that's why people would get a little frustrated with me and with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, because even I guess you'd call them enemies, when they got deplatformed off YouTube, we went, we tweeted out saying, no, it should be for everyone, whether we agree or disagree. Everyone has a voice,
Yes.
everyone's opinion. Like, we don't want to be part of the cancel culture system, as well, because we could easily do it on our side as well, saying, "Man,
Yeah.
you guys are crazy over there. Like, get rid of all of you." It's like, that's what freedom is. It's go ahead and express yourself, and we might laugh at you, but still, we're expressing our.
That's the difference between being principled and just having an ideology. I think
Yeah.
when you have a principle, if you believe in a principle like free speech, everyone should be able to speak, even my enemy, and the best ideas will rise to the top.
Yeah.
And we should be able to criticize one another's ideas. Well, that principle holds true, whether, of course, when it's more important when someone you disagree with is speaking, that you stand by that principle. But I think what we see so much of now is people, they put ideology first, or political party or what have you. And so it's sort of, I don't really believe in this principle. I just say I do when it works for my side, or when it works in the short-term goal that I want. But I don't have a universal principle. That's what I see. That's what I saw on my quote unquote side. So glaringly obvious. And it had not been obvious to me for a long time. But once I started to see it, you can't unsee it. It's like, wow, this is just rife with hypocrisy. Or it's like, I started a Facebook group a couple years ago when I first started opening my eyes to a lot of this stuff. It was called Liberals for Free Speech. I made shirts, and people were like, that's weird. Liberals are for free speech. I'm like, are they? We're at a time where now it's like, and so that shirt, I just pulled it out of the laundry the other day. And I was thinking about how it's aged in 2 years, that saying. Now it's like, I think it should be really obvious that now it's not necessarily a given that if someone calls themselves a liberal, that they are not for free speech. And that's sad. They're changing. Yeah. They're literally changing what that word means.
I think the majority of people just want to wake up, have some coffee.
Yeah.
Watch a good show, go to work, take care of their family, and not be bothered. Go on a vacation, see some sights, have a good pizza every now and then. And that's what I think the majority. I mean, I have days like that too. I was like, I don't want to be bothered. I just want to see the sunshine, and just take a walk. And I don't want to hear any of this nonsense. So you take your phone and you just turn it off, and then just do your thing. But when it starts to affect, I think more people will start to wake up when it begins to affect the things that they love. Like for me, I didn't see any of this stuff until it affected Gina Carano. I saw a little bit in Star Wars, and that made me like, okay, Hollywood's always been weird. All right. So like my mindset was like, Hollywood's always been weird. I get it. But when they fired Gina, and then not only did they fire her, publicly humiliate her, and then people from the company came out and lied. These are people that I looked up to. You work for Star Wars. Like, I want to be you. Like, I know what you do. I have books that you've written. And they've come out and lied about this woman just to appease whatever, the mob, whatever. Yeah. That was for me the whole. And then when Gina said, "Welcome to the rebellion," I was like, we talked on the phone, and I was just like, I'm going to run with that, because it seems like that's where we are right now. That's where we are. We're in a rebellion, and more people are joining when it starts to affect things that they love. Like right now, there's probably a lot of people that are like, they don't even know what we're talking. They're like, what is woke? What is SJ? What does all that stuff mean?
Yeah.
I wake up and go get the daily news, it's still delivered on my doorstep. It's like, I have a nice, it's like I have a nice steak and potato dinner waiting for me. What are you guys talking about? But once it starts affecting things like that, then they're like, wait, hold on a second. It's like, what you're
describing is, I always liked, I love zombie movies, and actually the only comics I really ever read were the Walking Dead ones before they made the show.
Those comics
And
were
they
pretty
were,
R-rated brutal.
yeah, they were.
Hey, ain't
But
nothing like the show, man. I got some of those comics. I was like, geez,
the
they're pretty
storylines also like really
yeah,
departed.
yeah. I
But
was like, man, these comics are a little hardcore.
yeah, but there's something about zombie stories that really, it's very applicable to what I see happening in the world today. It's a good allegory. And I usually like to ask people what you just described, Jay, your moment with Gina Carano, that's when you could see a little bit more of all this, what this stuff is, right? Because it affected something that you like and you saw it happen in front of you. And anybody who's awake to this belief system, they usually have a story like that. And to me, it reminds me of in a zombie story, the first time you realize that something's wrong, like something, the first time you realize the world has changed, right? Like the scene in the movie where you see your husband and you're like, and then you realize he's not himself. And so everyone has that story. And I think you're right. As it starts to touch their lives in different ways. For some of the people I've talked to, it's been through their kids. Their kid comes home from school and tells them something that they're like, wait, what are you learning? Like, that's not that sounds a little weird. And so that's the first time they touch the tip of that iceberg, right? Of like, what is this cultural belief? I do think of it like an iceberg. And I think we've crashed on it and we don't quite realize that we've crashed on it yet. But
the Titanic took a long time to sink.
Yes.
But a lot of people were saved, like not as much as they could have saved, but they did. And like people did get saved.
People were saved. Yeah.
I'm in my 40s now and presidents come and go. I've never really liked politics too much. But I've seen presidents come, presidents go, laws change, back and forth. I've also seen communist governments, being in dictatorships, and even being in Haiti, where the government literally after the earthquake, the government just packed up and left for the people to fend for themselves with no police, no no nothing. And it always, you would see people on Twitter saying, "Oh, we need this form of socialism, or we need this form of this," and I'm just like, before you really want that, here's a plane ticket and go over there and see how they like it. It's like, see what's going on over there. And to have a world perspective, I always came back and I always felt in my heart, like if we moved a little bit in that direction, people would be like, nah, that ain't it. Let's move back. Because this is too much. But I hope that's what will happen, honestly, because the pendulum, it always swings, like I think like I said, it always swings, and we're really swung at one point, and hopefully it'll swing back a little bit with I just want a little more common sense. How about that? Like, can we just start with that? Can we just start with common sense? I've given up on Hollywood and because whatever's going on over there now, it's just they live in their own world. Like they've got a world and they just think they're like the champions that are changing it, while nobody really cares about their movies and TV shows anymore. And I think it'll swing, because at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but money rules. I mean, money is like, you start messing with these rich people's money, then they're going to be like, okay, hold on a second here. So, because like what's happening, I'll give you an example. What's happening at Disney World theme parks right now is really interesting. They decided that they want to start catering to the super rich, and they want to see how that benefits them. So after the lockdowns, they reopened, and now they've changed everything, what they're doing. So their annual pass has doubled in price. Now you're talking about people haven't worked for a year. They're like, they're struggling. They're releasing a Star Wars resort hotel, which is a minimum. The cheapest rate you can get is about $6,000 for two people. That's a minimum. And they're like, they have no problem saying, yeah, that's what it costs. Enjoy. So, and now they're releasing a whole system, which is really interesting, that if you have the money, you don't have to wait in lines anymore. You can individually buy, and I'm doing the quick version, but you could buy line skippers for each ride. So it's like,
and in the past that used to be more
it used to be free.
Free.
So yeah, and so there was always, and it wasn't as expensive and stuff. So I'm seeing Disney like, we're gonna try this because we want to make money. You know, our money's been affected by the lockdowns. Our money's been affected, so we're gonna try to make our money back. And I'm watching these Disney fans that are like, and there's like hardcore Disney theme park, like you said, like they are hardcore. Disney can do no wrong. I've seen them like on videos, like crying, saying, I can't even afford to go anymore. And I'm wondering what's going to happen. Universal Studios, which is right next door, their sales have skyrocketed, like so much that they're doing like special events 30 days longer than what they normally have done. Like for Halloween, they're starting Halloween today. It's September 1st. And they're going to extend it because their tickets are skyrocketing. Like people can't, they're selling out. And I've been to Universal where they've actually had it, they've maxed out of people, which is not new for them. And so I'm watching this, you know, and I'm just wondering, like, because Disney's a big part in this whole woke culture and their movies and stuff. You're just wondering now, like, is their money going to get affected? Are they going to swing back to where, you know, maybe a little balance? Because they got rid of Splash Mountain. They're getting rid of Jungle Cruise. They're getting rid of all these things because they feel like it's not diverse. It's bad. It's like, it'll hurt people's feelings. So they're changing all these classic rides to make them more progressive.
Oh, and yeah. Gee, I had not heard that.
Yeah. So Splash Mountain was based off the movie Song of the South with Brer Rabbit.
Right. Oh,
and so they don't sell that movie anymore because it's not cultural appropriate. And so they're gonna gut out Splash Mountain and change it. And now the Jungle Cruise had a scene in it where they called them headhunters from Africa, you know. Mm-hmm. And they're taking all that stuff out to make it more cultural appropriate. So all these classic rides that they had, and now they're talking about removing the kiss of Snow White because the prince kissed Snow White without consent.
Her consent?
Yeah. No. They're thinking about removing that from the ride and all that stuff too.
Oh God.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you have these crazy Disney fans, which God bless them. If they're happy, I'm glad they're happy. And I'm watching them now start to like, I don't know if I can go back. Like, this is too much. They've gone too far, this and that. I was at Disney World Wednesday for, you know, park hopping, and it was pretty empty. Now, granted, school's back in town. And I'm going to Universal today to compare, but it's really interesting. I wonder, like I was saying, it's swinging, and now is it going to be like, all right, I think we messed up here. We're losing money. We gotta swing this thing back around. So, you know what I hope is that when things swing back, not just there, but like culturally on a big scale, that it's not an overcorrection. That's the problem. Yes, that was my next thing. I don't want to go like all the way to the other side. Now we're like back in Pilgrim days, and we're like, what's going on here? Like, yeah, modest. Like, you know, there's a clothing ban. You got to wear long sleeve. We don't want to show no skin. You know, like stuff like that. So, but
I hope, you know, it's like we don't like the woke kind of puritanical culture. Let's go to this Christian puritanical culture, and then they just feed. Yeah, but they're both. It's like, wait, the problem here is you're puritanical. That's the problem. It doesn't matter what kind of puritanism it is. It's the same thing with racism. They're like, racism is bad. Yes, it is. Okay, so we're going to fix it with this kind of racism. No, that's not going to work. You've still got racism there.
I know.
Like, what are you doing?
But they change. That's the thing is like the SJW mindset is changing the rules that benefit them. Now the whole thing is there's this weird white male guilt being pushed that I've seen I've never noticed before. That was on social media, and now it's like, well, you can't be racist towards white people. You just can't. And I'm like, okay. Like, when was that a rule change?
Yeah.
I just my hope and prayer is there's more good out there than there is crazy.
Yeah.
I hope with like traveling and meeting people and documenting that, the whole Jaywalking the Planet channel is going to be going on these adventures and meeting some really cool people that are doing cool stuff,
I love that.
and that's what I want. And I hope to get to around your area. That would be,
I was going to say, will you come to Texas?
Oh,
and
that's the plan.
Okay.
So
and if I make it out to Florida, I really want to come park hopping with you.
Oh, definitely. Oh man, you gotta let me know. Like, I'll set it all up. It'll be fantastic. You'll have the I do this for all these YouTubers all contact me. They're like, all right, Jay, take me on an event. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Because I know all the ins and outs and how to save you a ton of money and all that stuff. But yeah, that's my hope is like we'll start to get back a little normal. We'll swing back a little bit, and we'll just find a little more balance until we see the next till the next swing. I do think people are getting tired of it. I do think they're starting to wake up, but they also have to go live like the other problem I see is like this is what people do way too much is, oh my God, what did he say? Look at that. They're terrible. They're tearing up my country, this and that. Put your phone down for a minute and go enjoy your beautiful country. Listen, as much as I, slam California, my big adventure last week was someone took me hiking at Mount Whitney in California, and I put it up on the Jaywalk, and it was beautiful, like I had no phone service, no nothing. I never really hiked before. And I'm not very good at it, but that's what made it funny. And so here I have this, I have this other person that's just like a master climber and hiker taking a nobody. And I was like, it makes good video, number one. But number two, there was moments where I'm like, let's just turn the cameras off for like an hour. Like, I don't even want to say anything. And it's like, this is what it's, there's beauty out there. There's beauty in people. There's beauty in children. There's beauty in creativity. There's beauty in people that you disagree with. There's beauty. It's just everywhere. You just gotta find. You gotta get off the digital stuff and go find it. It's there. I promise you, it's there. And the world isn't as ugly as social media makes it out to be. In 2 weeks, I'm going to Mexico. I'm going outside of Tijuana. There was an orphanage that we were building there that was stopped because the world was shut down. It's for special needs children and adults. I'm going there with the cameras. I'm going to film this whole documentary there about the extraordinary people that have given up their lives for these forgotten kids. And I don't want them to be forgotten. You're not forgotten. But they don't, that's the thing is like, they don't care. Like, we don't feel forgotten. This is our purpose. We want to take care of these kids, whether we make headlines or not. We don't care. And so that's where I came from, talking about loving yourself and serving without worrying about even a thank you, because you're happy with who you are as yourself. The problem is people, they chase things so it's like, I'm going to do all this so I can get this.
Yes.
If I don't get this, then why did I do all that? It's like, I'll help you, but make sure you go on Twitter and tell everyone how much money I gave you and how much of a good person I am. It's like that. It's like, nah, man. Like, that'll come on its own. Like, it really will, if that's all you want. And going back to the Bible, I'm just saying, like,
standing on street corners.
Yeah, it's like that's their reward.
Yeah.
And Jesus was like, don't be like those people, because if they just want praise, then that's their reward. I got something better for you. I got something better for you. And we get to that. If people can get to that point, I'm telling you, the broken world that we live in, everyone will have their own piece of the puzzle and start putting it back, and we'll see the beauty again. All right, that was another big.
I love that though, because I was going to ask you about to end on something positive, and you just did. So, but one thing about I had this moment. So our unsafe space Twitter was perma-banned in January, and we appealed and they rejected our appeal. They said that we were evading a ban. They didn't tell us how or what we were doing to evade a ban. I like to joke that we were evading a ban by following the TOS. So it's like, you're banned. Why? Because you're trying not to get banned. But anyway, so we were permanently banned. But the weird thing is, before that happened, I had just had this sort of epiphany about censorship and stuff. And it was sort of like, bear with me, any atheists watching, but it was sort of like, God isn't your value. The value of what you're working on right now is not your platform or how many followers you have. And those are things to celebrate. Yes, don't get me wrong, but that's not the destination itself. That's not the reason to do this itself. And if your microphone gets turned off on this platform or wherever, it doesn't matter. There will be another door that's opened, and you keep doing what you do always, because the goal is not like, it's all the things that will come with it that are nice to have and nice to celebrate, like people actually watching and caring what you're doing, or being able to make some money from it, and those things are great, and you should celebrate them successes, but that's not the goal. And when that's the goal, then you've lost sight, and that's a problem. And that's when I think God will show you this is not the goal. You need to have this thing taken away so you can understand that, right? And I saw that happen when I worked in entertainment. I saw people who every once in a while I'd work with someone who, like you talked about earlier, would be it was one comedian I worked with who's comparing himself to other comics all the time. And he's like, well, he has this, he has that. Why does he have this? And then I don't think it was a coincidence that he was the same comic who also would come up with the wrong goals. It would be like, so what do you want to work on this year? And he's like, I think I'm going to do a podcast because so-and-so got famous doing a podcast. It's like, that's not why you do a podcast, is to get famous. Yeah. You do a podcast because there's something you're so compelled to speak about or to have fun doing, like you, Drunk3PO, we're going to have fun doing this, whether anyone's watching or not. And that's the goal. That's the goal itself, is doing the show. It's not, this is an avenue to fame, money, power, all these things, like worldly things. And I think you got your priorities messed up. And so it's really easy to do that. I've even seen wrong thinkers, people who've been canceled, right? Like from mainstream society in one way or another, then sort of build up a platform as a wrong thinker, a modest or a large platform, and then get confused again and start to put all that value in the platform itself and let it change them, so they won't talk about certain things or they won't stand up because suddenly they have something they're afraid of losing again. It's like, but you already lost everything once. You can lose it again. It's okay. Like that, you can't put all your faith in having these things, right?
No, because it's gone in a snap of if I were to end on one thing, is I read this somewhere, I can't remember where, but it sometimes you read a book and you're like, that was cool, but there was like one thing that just stood out. Yeah. I always feel life. So before we had these cruise ships, we had they called them ocean liners way back in the day, and they would take people on all these amazing destinations. So like you'd leave New York, go to Greece, France, and go all over the world. So it's like a one line. So it was like a one line. That's the destination. Okay. And now what we've done is made the boat the destination. Yes. Yes. And so like in life, we're supposed to go from one side, and we have all these little stops of like things that happen in life, like good moments and adventures and creativity and productive and everything. And then life it's over. But now it seems like we just get on the boat now and like, that's the destination. So we can do everything in the boat now. We don't have to get out. We don't have to make these stops. So just like Wall-E, they were just in a boat. We just made that the destination. Yes. And so we keep advertising how great the boat is and not the destination. So it's like you can ride roller coasters on this cruise. You can do this. You can watch movies. We got all the food. We got everything. And it's just like, and we kind of apply that to life sometimes, where it's like, no, man, we're supposed to get over here. And now you want to be stuck here. And when bad things happen, like you said, when things are removed and stuff, it's like panic mode. But that's not where the final destination is supposed to be. So it's, and
I love that.
Yeah, it was like, I read that, I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, man, life is a gift, and enjoy it as much as you can, because there's definitely enough heartache in it throughout the years. That's why we take photos. That's why we take photos of like perfect spots, because we want to remember that time where it was like almost perfect. I was with great people. I had good food. I had a great trip, because the rest of the time we're all like scurrying around, working and cleaning and trying to figure out what to wear and trying to lose weight and stressing and, it's like all that. And then you have that moment again, you're like, oh, I'm here. Let's take a photo so I can remember this time that I had some peace.
Yes.
I had a good meal here, because I'm eating, cereal at home and like old oatmeal, because I'm running around and like, it's just stressful, and I got to go to the post office and I got to do this and I got to, it's like a nonstop scurry, and then you stop and take a photo and you're like, peace. Let me remember this time. So
I've really enjoyed talking with you, Jay.
I appreciate being, and I'm honored that you invited me. I like freaked out when you sent me a message. I was like, what? Who am I that you want on your show? Who am I? Like, this is so cool.
I'm like you. I'm sort of like, yeah, it doesn't really, I'm just a person is sitting here talking to my friend Carter with the camera on. So I have the attitude of
action figures in my backdrop. I mean, that's just who I am. Like a Thanos' gauntlet, like my backdrop.
I like your Drunk3PO sign, by the way.
Yeah, it was a gift. It was a gift, but people tease me. They're like, "Did you put that up so you don't forget your name?" I was like, "It was a gift, so I'm putting it up."
At some point, we're gonna do an unsafe space thing for me. But one of our cross stitchers made this, which is kind of cool.
People send you stuff.
Yeah,
everything here, everything behind me is a gift.
Yeah,
and I just want to like showcase it because I love it.
Not today, Joy Eater, because I call those
I love
people Joy Eaters.
I love it.
We're going to wrap up, and then I'm going to ask you just 3 questions for our extras. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jay. So people can find you online at YouTube at Drunk3PO or Jaywalking the Planet.
Yeah. Just Jaywalking the Planet is my favorite channel, but Drunk3PO is like the daily news silliness channel. So yeah. So
find you there, and they can't find you on Twitter. Although maybe by the time this airs, you'll be back.
Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, we have a deep content library that includes interviews with everyone from Mike Cernovich to Megan Murphy, so go check it out. If you'd like to see more, please consider supporting the show by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on all the major social media platforms, well, mostly. And you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space chat on Telegram. See you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production has not been authorized by the Cathedral. The following co-conspirators have been unpersoned and may be subject to federal entrapment. Research shows that wearing a mask significantly reduces the risk of becoming infected with independent thought. The next war will be nothing like Afghanistan. I promise. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice Curtis, never mind, that last line is fake news. please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.